Hello. This week I've been trying out an old camera. This is an Olympus. It's a SP-30. I'll include some shots in the video. I thought I'd put a couple of batteries in it. I found it in an old drawer that we were tidying out, and I didn't know whether it still worked. I think it was from around about 2005 that we used this camera as a family snapshot camera. I wasn't really, I didn't really know what I was doing using a camera like this at the time. It was probably put into auto mode most of the time, and I thought, why not give it another go now that I know a bit more about photography and how to use the camera and its settings. So I thought I'd give it a go. Yeah, does it stand up today? Does it stand up to today's quality? And can you still get decent images out of a camera that's getting on for 20 years old? Just delving a little bit more into what this camera can and can't do. When it was originally released in 2005, it's a 7.1 million pixels, so it's a 3 times optical zoom lens. That's from 38 to 114 millimeters, 35 millimeter equivalent. The monitor on the back is a 2.5 LCD screen. It has auto program, auto aperture, shutter priority, and manual exposure modes. It's also got 24 scene modes. It also shoots video, has a super macro mode up to 2 centimeters. As I say, histogram function in both shooting and playback modes. It does, surprisingly, it also saves photographs in RAW format. I haven't tried the RAW format out, but that's a real surprise to me. And apparently the batteries last up to 510 shots, so quite a good battery life, and they are just normal AA's. It has the TruePic Turbo image processor. It's also got 32 megabytes internal memory, as well as the XD picture card format. So the XD picture card slot is here, and it's very similar to the SD format, but it's obviously a different type of card. Yeah, so the image sizes range from the highest is 3072 by 2304, and they go down to 640 by 480. So wouldn't be very usable really for anything. Movie clips up to the capacity of the card can be stored. So highest resolution there is 640 by 480. So not high definition. The aperture range is from 2.8 to 4.9, and there is a 5 times digital zoom, but obviously that would not be very usable, I wouldn't have thought. So in terms of autofocus, it has a spot for autofocus. There's a selectable AF area from 143 points. Also has manual focusing with enlarged focusing area. I haven't tried manual focusing. There's a macro and super macro mode, so I haven't tried really those either. So the shutter speeds go from 15 to 15 seconds up to 1/2000th of a second, and you can have up to 8 minutes in bulb mode. So the wide angle end of the zoom, it's f2.8 in terms of aperture, and then at the full telephoto, you're getting f8. So quite a dark, slow lens really, but great in daylight, but not necessarily in low light conditions. Yeah, so ISO ranges go from ISO 64 up to ISO 400, which again means it's more of a daytime camera, not a nighttime or a dark space camera really. Does have a built-in flash and red eye reduction mode, so it's got 10 output levels. The guide number for the flash is 7.5. So I think that's about it in terms of connectivity. I've got one of these adapters, so I just plug the card from the camera into the adapter. I don't bother plugging the camera directly in. It does have a couple of sockets, an AV out, USB mono AV out, and a DC in port. So we're going to look at the camera functions. So interestingly, it has this view. So you can see this is in shutter priority mode. So you can see that the shutter speed is in red. So if I use the up and down arrow keys, I can change the shutter speed. I can increase it, or I can slow it down. And as you can see, the exposure is telling me there that at 1/4 of a second it's correctly exposed. At 1/5 it's not. So you have some kind of reading on the exposure. You can also see the aperture there is f2.8. There is a zoom function, so I can zoom in a little bit onto that piece of Lego. And there's also a display guide function here. So if I click on that first click takes away all of the information on screen and just lets me focus on composition. Bringing it a second time, clicking it a second time gives me the guide information, the guidelines there, the rule of thirds guides. And interestingly enough, clicking it again gives me a live histogram. So this camera is not that sophisticated, but it still has a live histogram view, which is quite something, really. That's sort of indicating to me that it's over in the left-hand side, that it's some of the picture will be underexposed, and that's probably correct because of the shutter speed. Let's lower the shutter speed even further to 1/3 of a second, and then that should be correctly exposed. I'm going to press the shutter speed. I've got it on the desk, so hopefully there isn't too much shake introduced by my fingers. So what do the left and right keys do? Well, that's exposure compensation. So if I click on the right hand side of the nav wheel, it gives me a 1/3 of a stop of exposure compensation, as you can see. That's a full stop, and then if I click on the opposite side, it darkens the image, so with exposure compensation. So yeah, so not bad. It's also got a little viewfinder, surprisingly enough, but it's a little optical viewfinder, but it doesn't have any information. I presume these two dots here give me some indication of the exposure. Sorry, these two dots here. Has a flash and AEL. I'm not quite sure what that is. I've just looked up what that AEL button is. It's the auto exposure lock button, of course, and you can also use it as a custom function as well. So you can lock in a custom setting as well. So it could be something that you can't actually easily access, like the ISO potentially.